Hey, thanks for checking out the Coach's Locker podcast with Chris Four. I really appreciate you checking us out and listening. Today we're talking with head football coach at Beaumont High School here in Southern California, Jeff Steinberg. Coach Steinberg is a good friend of mine here, and I really consider him to be one of the sharpest minds, not only here in our state, but nationally. You'll be hard-pressed to find another coach as highly organized as Coach Jeff Steinberg. He has won 2 CIF Championships. He's won more than 130 games. He won one of those championships at Burroughs High School in Ridgecrest. And then last year, 2017 season, at Rancho Verde High School, which in our section of the state, the CIF Southern Section, that's Division 3 of 13, big boy football, won a Division 3 championship last year and you'll hear him talk through this, won a CIF championship on a last-second field goal by a sophomore kicker. Go special teams, baby. Hey, in this podcast, Steinberg and I are going to discuss training camp practice plans, in-season practice plans, equipment organization, team meetings during training camp, and more. I think you're going to find it's a really, really great podcast. I asked Coach Steinberg years ago to make his coach's manual. He sent it to me, wanted some input. I loved it. I asked him to make that available for sale on my website, 8laces.org, because I was just so impressed with it. I knew coaches would really love it. So if you go to 8laces.org, EIGHTLACS.org, check out his manual, click on the shop tab, and then go to the Raising the Bar, a complete 12-month roadmap to success. He sold hundreds of these things the last few years here, and we're going to give you a coupon code at the end of this podcast, save you a little money. But I saw Coach Steinberg tweet out this pretty unique practice flow schedule. I loved it. We got to talking about it a little bit, and I said, hey, let's get you on the podcast to talk about not only this schedule specifically, but some other things relating to, training camp practice and organization, and then program organization, and then we'll talk through how he prepares the troops in season practice plan, theme of a day, theme of a week, why he spends 100 minutes a week on special teams, how he breaks that down, etc. You can follow Coach Steinberg on Twitter. It's at Coach, C-O-A-C-H, Steiny, S-T-E-I-N-Y. That's at Coach Steiny. Thanks for joining us here on episode 9. You are listening to the Coach's Locker podcast with Chris Four, a place for all coaches to call home. The Coach's Locker podcast is a part of the Football Coaching Podcast Network. Please visit footballcoachingpodcast.com to hear and see our entire lineup of top football coaches coming to you every single podcast with valuable information to help you and your program. The Coach's Locker podcast with Chris Four exists to help prepare coaches to be hired for the job of their dreams and to provide coaches with dynamite resources to become even more successful in their field. You can reach me on Twitter at Coach4, that's at COACHFORE, and my podcast home is at 8laces.org/podcast. That's 8laces, EIGHTLACES.org/podcast. Welcome to the Coach's Locker podcast with Chris Four. Now, let's get after it. Coach Steinberg, hey, thanks so much for coming on the Coach's Locker podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach Four. I really appreciate it. Love doing stuff with you.
Yeah, hey, Coach. So we do something called the kickoff, the tip-off, and the first pitch, kind of a way for our listeners to get to know you just a little bit. 7 quick questions here. Coach, what's the first team you played on, and what do you remember from playing on that team?
The first team, so I remember playing for the West Kildonan Cougars in Canada. My dad was our coach, and that was 6-man football. I was, I believe, 8 years old.
Nice. 6-man.
It was great. And, my dad was, he was pretty creative, so we did a lot of fun stuff. We had neighborhood kids on the team. We had a real variety of characters and guys you grow up with. And so it was my first introduction to football. We just had a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So, Coach, how do they play six-man up there anymore, like high school level?
Not at the high school level. So, and I don't even think that they have it at the youth level. And one of the things that just looking back now is just a great introduction because there they have 12 guys on the field, but your first experience at football, 12 would have been a lot of guys to have to figure out. So it was pretty cool playing six-man, and I played that for a few years and then transitioned to full-scale football, 12-on-12, which was another great experience. And so my youth sports experience in Winnipeg, like nothing but just incredible memories, and that really got things going. And obviously played football and played other sports too, and then transitioned to high school football.
How about the last team you played on, Coach? What do you remember from that team?
And so that would have been my last team that I played on was in college at the University of Alberta, and I guess I was pretty fortunate in that my first experience was incredible, and my last experience was incredible, and everything in between was pretty good. So one of the things that I guess my takeaway was not so much the football part, but that's kind of when I started to figure out that football eventually comes to an end, and where do we go from here? And it was really apparent that I was not going to play professional football, and I loved the game. I loved everything about the game, the structure, the team part, and coming together and working together, and it only seemed to fit to continue in some capacity in the game. And with that, finished my degree and got my credential and was teaching and coaching right away.
So, Coach, who has been your main mentor in this coaching profession over the years?
That's a great question, because I always talk to other guys and young guys and tell them it's really important to have some guys that you can lean on, and if you can have a few different mentors, you're a better person for it. So two guys that have been extremely helpful, and there's probably more than two because there's different guys that I've been able to rely on, but two that for me personally would be one in Canada, and that's Brian Dobie, who's the head coach at the University of Manitoba, and he's been there for 20 plus years now, very successful. He's turned out guys to be doctors, lawyers, great husbands. He's managed to put guys in the Canadian Football League, and even had I think a total of 3 players come out of the University of Manitoba that have played in the NFL. So very successful. And one of the things that I think drew me to him early on was just how he established great relationships with everybody, and he was just really good at getting guys to play for him because he cared so much about them. And so he's been a big mentor for me, and somebody that I still talk to and I really rely on. And then the other person is a coach in the U.S. here, who's a very successful high school coach in Arkansas, and that's Rick Jones, who's, I think, everybody knows Coach Jones. It seems like, and has come in contact with or worked with him in some capacity. And Coach Jones, I came in contact with about maybe 10, 12 years ago. I picked up a DVD from Coach's Choice, I believed, and it was about program development. And I was watching, and I was just drawn to all the great stuff that he was doing in his program. And I figured I would just pick up the phone and give him a call and say thanks for the video, and see if I could pick his brain. We established a friendship, and he's been extremely helpful to me since.
That's awesome, man. That's one of the greatest things about this profession. Last night, it was, 10:30 at night, and I was talking with a coach here in Southern California, John Rice. We were discussing our own children, and they're playing sports, and we both have a kid at the same age. But our 11-year-old's, like my 11-year-old's my oldest, so first time going through stuff. His 11-year-old is the youngest, so he's already been through this stuff.
Right.
And he's like, hey, let me just give you a call, you know. And so I love the brotherhood that coaches have, and that's really good to hear that a guy, you know, is willing to pick up the phone, and now you've developed a relationship. And Coach, I know the type of person you are. I'm sure you're giving back to some of the younger coaches now in the same way with that. So.
I really try to, and not because I necessarily think I have all the answers, but I know that people have been helpful to me along the way, and patient with me, and help put me in the position that I am in right now. So I just want to give back and help others as much as I can.
That's awesome. Coach, what's the worst mistake you ever made in your business of coaching, this business of coaching?
Wow, probably too many to even mention, and they seem to continue. But no, I think if looking back, probably early on, not spending enough time with my own family, and that would be maybe the biggest mistake, would be not finding balance, and not knowing when to maybe put things down and do other things. And we probably spent way too much time at the so-called office, and way more than we should have ever. And there was no doubt that we were working hard, and we really believed we were working harder than everybody else. And that may have been true. Now, were we working smarter? Probably not. And we just were not very efficient with our time. And just, you know, lessons, you make mistakes, and that tends to be when you find the biggest learning from it. And just over time, learning how to balance things out, and how to be more efficient with our time, and how to be more efficient on the field, and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and we're going to get to that, Coach, because the reason I wanted to chat with you was, you know, this practice schedule you tweeted out the other day, and I'm real intrigued to get into that with you, because I know you're a very organized coach, and it's going to be fun talking about that and making the most use of your time. You mentioned the balance thing. I know, man, that is very tough, and you know, I was only a head coach for 8 years here, and you know, coached high school football for half of that, for 16, so half of that as a head coach. I remember sitting in the office on a Sunday afternoon, being totally done, but thinking, man, I can't go home. You know, I can't go home this early. I got to keep working. And yeah, there's definitely this mindset sometimes that we get overtaken by, you know, that we got to work these long hours or ridiculous hours. And I think that's starting to change a little bit in the coaching landscape, you know, by some things I'm hearing, but it's a good thing to point out. How about your greatest accomplishment, Coach?
Greatest accomplishment, I think just seeing young kids do things that they didn't think they could, seeing them overcome adversity, whether it's individually or collectively as a team. And one of the things I think, maybe looking at as the thing as a whole with our team last year, when I was at Rancho Verde, was I think that was just a huge accomplishment, winning a CIF title with what I considered a pretty young team. And we certainly weren't talking CIF titles at the beginning of the year, and I think they overcame a lot of adversity, things that they were hit with during the year. And we always tell the players that you don't find, you really find out about yourselves when you're faced with adversity, and that's a true mark of a person individually and also as a team. And so I think team-wise, that was probably a pretty big accomplishment. Not that we necessarily won the CIF title, but just to go as far as they did. And I've had other teams that, really were overachievers, going further and, maybe not winning a CIF title, but going further than they thought they could, just because they learned how to fight through things. And then just individually to see players overcome things, and maybe setbacks that have happened in their lives personally or at school, and then just mature into quality young men. And to me, that's where you get your fix. Early on in your career, I think you evolve as a coach. Early on in your career, it tends to be more about the X's and the O's and the scheming and game planning and winning games. And then over the course of your career, you evolve to more about the relationships and and the juices get going when you see kids doing things they didn't think they could, or when you're working with a kid who's struggling and he winds up doing very well in the classroom and being somebody the teachers are pretty proud of. Those are great things.
Yeah, and all of those individual accolades, those are fun to see as a coach. I know, for those who aren't in Southern California, might not understand how it works here. There's 13 divisions of football. We have close to, I think, about 450 teams in our section who play football, divided into 13 divisions. Coach Steinberg's team last year, Rancho Verde, they won the Division III CIF Championship. So, it's up there. It's big boy football, very high division here in Southern California. And Coach, I remember you told me, during that first week of training camp last year, you told your wife, I'm not sure if we'll win a game. And I think a lot of us,
that's true.
A lot of us feel that way as coaches during training camp. I remember I laughed so hard when you told me that because, my wife in like year 3 or 4, she'd say, let me guess, you're not going to win a game this year. But for you guys, Coach, you had a young team. Like, you kind of really believed that.
We were really young. So while I went home and told that to my wife, and she's like, sure, you tell me that every year. And I said, hey, but this year I mean it. So while I was telling her that, at the same time, we were telling the team a different story. And we had this theme with the squad called Epic Story. And the whole thing about Epic Story, we would just feed them stuff for their head every day. We would tell them there's going to be something great on the back end of this, and what it is, I don't know, but you guys are going to go through some struggles, and without a struggle, there's no story. And so we would tell them no struggle, no story. And we would kind of work this in every week. And then when we would have some sort of adversity, we go, this is one of those things. This is just a test of how bad you guys want it. It's just a challenge. Take it as a challenge. So they really learned as a team to understand that was all about growth, and they developed a growth mindset and learned from some of the mistakes and some of the struggles that they were faced with during the year. And it was so incredible just to watch them grow every week. Every week they got better. They got tougher mentally. They came closer together as a family. And that was really, really neat to see during the course of the year.
Yeah, and then you guys win a CIF Championship, I think, right? Wasn't it on the last play of the game?
Yeah, I went down to the last play of the game. There was, I believe, 2.5 seconds. 2.5 seconds, and ball snapped, and he puts it right through the uprights with no time left.
Yeah, nail a field goal. Was that a sophomore? Am I remembering right?
That he was a sophomore, yes.
Unbelievable. Sophomore kicker.
Yeah.
When he hit one of those things where he's probably too young to really understand what's going on.
Well, I think it probably hit him after, and especially once he was going into soccer season, probably gave him a little bit of juice going into the season. And there was a kid that was walking around campus pretty proud for quite some time after that.
Heck yeah. Coach, what's your favorite vacation spot?
Pretty much any beach, any Southern California beach. We love going to the beach as a family, and anytime we can, just getting out, getting the chairs, bringing the sand toys, and the kids are in heaven, and we're definitely in heaven. We get to relax, and then usually hit a place to eat in and out for lunch. So we find that's a lot of relaxation at the beach, just listening to the waves.
Yeah. How about your favorite thing to do outside of coaching and outside of your family? Do you have any hobbies, or how do you kind of unwind?
I like listening to music, trying to exercise as much as possible. And I guess also, whether I'm alone or with the family, trying to get out, find a way to get out to the beach. And I love reading as much as possible.
Outstanding, Coach. What is your day like today? You guys today it's second day of training camp, right?
So we just finished our third day of training camp.
How was the day for you guys? How'd you do?
Well, today was great. Every day. We just gave them just coming off our dead period. So Monday we came back, and as expected, pretty sloppy, trying to shake the rust off. And I knew it would be like that. Some guys very uptight. We every time we start again, we tell them I don't believe in you pick up where you left off. So anytime we start and do a reinstall, whether it's the January, the second time would be spring football, then the third time would be the summer, and then the fourth time would be fall camp. We go back to the foundation. And then our whole philosophy is we want to just build a better foundation, because the better the foundation, the better the structure. So no different than if you're building, some sort of building, skyscraper, or a house. You need a solid foundation. So, you can't expect, when you start in January, you can't expect that you're going to pick up where you left off. I just think that's just, complete garbage. So we always just say, hey, we're going to start it again. We're going back to the foundation. We're going back to all the basic things, and let's be better at everything. And, maybe that's based on a lot of Pete Carroll stuff, and, just doing it better than it's ever been done, I guess, in the simplest form. So this is now back to the foundation. So we told them after Monday's practice, however you did today, some of you guys did fantastic. Some of you guys didn't have the greatest practices. However you did, let's get better tomorrow. And that's all we focus on, is every day, let's get better. And so Tuesday was a little better. Today was a little better. And so those are little things, you look at those small victories, and you can't help but get excited when you see kids improving like that on a daily basis.
Outstanding. And so today you guys go 130 equipment. I assume that's you guys are handing out equipment.
Yes. Yeah. So
favorite part of every coach's year.
Oh yeah, we get pumped for that, but it's great because our assistant coaches were all there helping out, and that tells me that they care about what the players are going to be in, and to make sure that they're fitted properly. And so it's a shared responsibility in our program. And we did equipment, and then we lifted, and then we had today we had a 7-on-7 with two schools coming over, Palm Springs and Redlands East Valley, two very good programs. Have a lot of respect for their coaches too. And it was our last hookup with other teams till next year for 7-on-7.
Okay, Coach, something just real practical? How are you organizing your equipment and keeping track of it? I have a brand new head coach who recently asked me that. He said, "Man, I guess the equipment place that he took over is just in shambles, no accountability." He thinks they probably lost $3,000 in equipment, last fall when the kids all turned it all in. So he was asking me how to organize it all. How do you guys go about doing that?
Yeah, so all the players are expected to have their own girdles in our program. And so we don't hand out thigh pads, hip pads, or tail pads. If we have a player who needs help to get a girdle, we'll take care of them. But by and large, the players are taking care of their own girdles and their own mouthpieces. And so those are things that we don't have to issue. So all we really have to issue is helmets, shoulder pads, practice jersey, practice pants, and belt. And we just sign them out. And the players have them. They know that those are going to be things that they keep in their locker. They don't wander around with them. And once they're checked out, the players are financially responsible for them when they return. And the players know that if anything gets damaged, report it to the coaches right away, and we will, we'll give you a new one that works.
And so are you, is each kid having a page, or are you keeping all an Excel document? How does that work?
We keep it in, so I've got an Excel document with the roster, and then I have the columns of the different pieces of equipment. Now, after we give out all the basic equipment, if a player needs a knee brace or a back plate, and most players buy their own back plates nowadays, but if a player needs some of the auxiliary accessories, they'll come see us once we hand everything out, and then we just check them off for that other stuff.
Gotcha. Today you guys had a team meeting, 3:00 team meeting. What is that like on the third day of fall camp?
Okay, so we have a theme for the year. Our theme for the year is one family, one destiny. And, we're always hitting on that. And that's kind of overall what we talk about, it's a brotherhood, playing together, playing for the community. And then, we also have every week we have a theme. So this is our first week back. So our theme for this week is enthusiasm. And, I think that the selling point there is nothing great in life has ever been accomplished without enthusiasm. And we give them examples that we draw on from the business world or the real world. And, if it's fitting, we'll bring in a speaker, show them a video and things like that. So today we were just talking about enthusiasm and what genuine enthusiasm is. And then as you get deeper into enthusiasm on the deepest level is passion, where you just really love doing what you're doing. And, we talk about guys in the NFL who've been career players, are obviously passionate about what they do. Like, do you really love every day to work on individual skills? Well, you may be tired and it may be treacherous at times, but really at the forefront, you're doing stuff that you just really love to do. And so obviously you're going to attack it in a way that's going to be a little different than the guy who, let's say, just doesn't like showing up or is there because he's trying to satisfy somebody else's need or whatever. And then we'll compare that to things in life, people who really love their careers versus people who are just showing up to have to get a paycheck or doing things that they don't really love to do. And so we always draw on that and just trying to teach them those life lessons. And then we also have daily themes built on a lot of the Pete Carroll stuff. And so we call Wednesday Competition Wednesday. So it's kind of fitting with teams coming over with their linemen in 7-on-7.
And so, yeah, you had tone. Let's talk about each day, Coach. You got Tone Setter Monday, Takeaway Tuesday, Competition Wednesday, and then Perfect Thursday. So talk about, I know you said Pete Carroll, and then Friday's Payday. Pete Carroll's kind of the inspiration behind that?
Very much so, very much so. And, I really think taking from Coach Carroll, I really think young people nowadays, they need something other than just we're playing football. Like there's got to be some other fix for them. And I think when you can capture their hearts and minds, then I think you really got them where they're going to do special things. So we try to capture their hearts and minds and hit their emotions. And so, for us, for Tone Setter Monday, and again, that's why we have all these various themes, because we're just trying to hit them in some different way. We're going to try to hit their emotions, and the emotions are going to be, we want them to be, based on Jimmy V's speech. We want to try to get them every day in some sort of deep thought, to have a laugh or shed a tear. And we think that if we can do that, we're going to be able to capture their hearts and minds, but also get them to care for each other more too. So with Monday's Tone Setter Monday, and we think that if you want to be successful on Friday night, Monday will set the tone for the rest of the week. So we want to be sharp when we hit the field. We want to be focused. We want to pay attention in meetings, and especially any install stuff. And then on Tuesday, if you look at the statistics of, takeaways and fumbles and things like that, if you can get 3 takeaways in a game and be 100% ball security, or even if you're 3-1, you have a really good chance of winning the game. So we spend a little more attention to detail on taking care of the football on offense and working ball security. And then on defense, that would be our big day to do our takeaway circuit and try to keep points and see how many takeaways we can get in group and team periods on defense. And can we go a whole practice with 100% ball security? Then that takes us into Wednesday. As you get closer to the game, Wednesday is going to be our game simulation day, where we're going to do a lot of drills that simulate down and distance and zone on the field and, transitions in the kicking game and things like that. So we call Wednesday Competition Wednesday, and we try to finish practice off with some sort of some sort of competitive situation, offense versus defense. And then that takes us into our Thursday. By the time you get to Thursday, you want to be pretty sharp. You want the players to have a great understanding of the game plan. And we're just going to try to have a crisp practice. I don't have a walkthrough on Thursday. We don't believe in that on Thursday. So Thursday is a helmets and shoulder pads, and it's just under an hour. And we're going to work everything that we're going to be doing on Friday night. So our openers on offense, we're going to work our base D or our defense versus their top plays, run and pass, and we're going to work our special teams transitions and be sharp and get on and off the field. And then we do that in the morning on Thursday so that they're going to have a nice long recovery before Friday's game. And then usually on Friday, that being payday, where there's a reward, you've put in your work all week, so you're getting paid on Friday. Friday now in the morning in our class, we'll do a walkthrough.
So, Coach, yeah, I've noticed, when do you guys start school?
So our first day of school will be August 8th.
Okay, so I noticed you're on the field at 7:30, so that's class time?
Yes, sir. Yeah, so
awesome.
School day actually starts at 7:45, and so we will have, on the Thursday and Friday, we'll start just before school starts. That way our guys are all there on time, and that gives them enough time on the back end to, get washed up and get ready for class as well.
So you have first period football all year round?
Yes. Yeah, we'll have, I'll have first period will be a varsity class, and second period will be junior varsity, and third period will be freshman.
Man, that's a nice schedule, Coach.
I'm really fortunate. It's just a great schedule, yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice schedule. Okay, so back to training camp here. You guys, let's see, tomorrow, Thursday, perfect Thursday, you got a team meeting. You'll go weights for an hour, hydrate, position meetings. What are you doing in position meetings? You watching film from today? What does that look like tomorrow for you guys?
So tomorrow the position meetings will be just players meeting with their position coaches. They're going to review some things from today, from 7-on-7. Now, whether they sit the players down this early and they actually get on the film, probably not. But the coaches will have watched the film and they'll cover some things, mistakes and good things that they want to reinforce from what we did today. And then over time, that'll give us an opportunity to get in and maybe review a little bit of stuff on film or get on the board with the players. And we've even used those meetings as a little bit of a walkthrough, whether they're doing a walkthrough in class or down on the field or whatever.
So, Coach, I can't help but notice on this schedule, which we'll have the schedule, guys, will be in the show notes. Coach has made this public for everybody on his Twitter, so we'll put this in the show notes. 8laces.org/podcast takes you to the show notes, and Coach has been kind enough to put this out there. You can see their entire schedule, and then practice, which we're going to get into in a minute here. But, Coach, Thursday, July 19th, third day of camp. You guys have been working special teams every day of camp this first week, but you're doing field goal on the fourth day of camp. There just are not a lot of high schools, believe it or not, because I talked to a lot of them about special teams. There's not a lot of high schools doing field goal on July 19th, Coach. But
well, great. Hey, let's find out what teams those are.
Because yeah. So, and I'm sure you had that mindset last year, and then you win a CIF championship on a field goal. Are you going to bring that up? Because Coach Steinberg went to a brand new school, okay? He moved from a school, Rancho Verde, over to a school called Beaumont. Are you going to remind the kids of what you did last year, winning a CIF championship on a field goal? How do you address that?
Yeah, so well, we're gonna, I had a person the other day on Twitter ask, why we spent so much time on special teams, and I think we spend 20-25 minutes of practice on special teams, and I don't really think that's a lot of time. It's, to me, necessary.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're definitely going to bring that up tomorrow, and we've already done field goal this summer. So when we reinstall it, I guess, this week, and we go over it tomorrow. We're going to talk about just, look, you don't kick a lot of field goals in high school football. You just, you don't. It's not like in the NFL where every week the kicker's getting on the field to kick at least one field goal a game. And that's just because, playing 4-down football and the range of a high school kicker and the accuracy, there's just not a lot of opportunities. But if you're doing it, when we do it, we're doing it because we expect points on that. So we're going to talk to the team about, just the opportunity there and the need to be accurate and be sharp up front and, just be able to draw on that experience from last year, how, that was something that won a team a championship. It didn't come off of a touchdown or a long pass or a big run. It came off of a special team. And, so if that doesn't send a message, I don't know what would.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, let's talk about this in-season weekly plan. And again, we'll have this in the show notes. But this, I know, received a lot of attention on Twitter. It really, when I saw this, I loved it. You did something that I really haven't seen anybody do before, to be honest, and in a long time, in the business. And you and I are a lot alike, Coach, in the way that we're very organized people. The coaches are either very organized, type A, Excel is their best friend, or they're not. There's no practice plan. That's kind of what I've found.
Right.
There's not a lot of middle ground usually, But so this Excel spreadsheet where you have the in-season practice minutes listed out. And so I just wanted to kind of go through that and talk to you about how you develop this spreadsheet. What I'd encourage you, if you're able to right now, if you're not out mowing the lawn or on your way to work, if you're near a computer, pull it up so you can see and hear Coach talk about it. You can see it, 8laces.org/podcast show notes with Jeff Steinberg. You can pull it up right there. Coach, so what you've done is kind of added up all the minutes, Monday through Thursday, and actually Monday through, your Friday walkthroughs. And you've put those into, you're doing individuals for 80 minutes, 100 minutes of special teams. I love seeing that. Teaching for 50 minutes, group work for 65, teamwork for 140, conditioning for 20, total practice time of 455 minutes. So, Coach, how did you come up with this spreadsheet?
Okay, so first off, I don't even think that it's done because, as you do things, you get ideas. And I really think that I can even add more to this in terms of, so one of the things that I'd like to add is, where are the live periods? Where's the thud periods? And obviously being in the southern section, you can't have more than 90 minutes, I believe, during the entire week. And so I'd like to lay those out as well, just for myself and my staff, but also to help other guys as well. And the whole thing started with, there used to be this 18-hour rule. I don't even think it exists. I was looking at the blue book, and I didn't even see it for this last year. So you would get 18 hours during the week, and the game day counted as 3. And then, so that gives you 15 hours for the rest of the week to do your practice after school. Now, any lifting and film activity during the school day doesn't get counted. It was only football practice after school. And I just want to be efficient. And I went to UCLA this off season. They were doing a thing for the coaches. And so our staff went down and Chip Kelly laid out, what they were doing in a week and what the minutes looked like. And I just found it, I was fascinated by it because, I think as coaches, we talk a good game, but when you ask somebody, oh, so coach, how much time do you actually spend on individual or group or whatever the drill was, or even team time all week? I don't know if a lot of guys would be able to say it. So I wanted to see in my mind, how much time, because, we talk about all the time that you need of working specific skills to get better. So I wanted to see, okay, well, how much individual time are we giving our position coaches so that players can get better? And, are they getting enough time? And, do we have enough time that we're spending on special teams during the week and so on and so on and so on. So I just wanted to map it out. And I thought, how do you practice plan every day if you don't have your whole week mapped out? So I figured I'm going to work, we always talk about working backwards. So I wanted to work backwards. I wanted to map out the whole week. And then I thought it would be a lot easier to be able to map out every day from there. And so I just came up with that. And then I started playing around, I added the formulas and stuff. And then I thought, hey, this will be great to be able to help coaches with, so they don't have to, reinvent the wheel or anything. And they could just plug in the numbers. You can play around. Like some coaches have asked me, coach, you're two platoon. What do you do if you guys are going on, playing on both sides of the ball? And I came up with some ideas and stuff like that, but, they can actually work it out themselves here and still have the formula to be able to use.
And so when you put this together, what was the staff's response, or did you do this with your staff? Did you put it together first? Kind of how did that happen?
This was me, just my philosophy, what I believed, in terms of, we talk about, all the research that's come out with, you don't need to condition if you've got tempo built into your practice, and, you should only have a kid on the field for a maximum of, 2 hours and 30 minutes. After that, it's wasted time. And so I figured, okay, well, let's 2 hours and 30 minutes. That's, we'll start out at the beginning of the year. And, so that should be our longest practice of the week, should be 2 hours and 30 minutes. And then we'll start cutting once we hit the middle of the season. And I drew on a little bit of experience from last year as we cut down on time as the year went on. And it's kind of it's a little labor of love now, this document.
Yeah. And so how did you decide, like you said, some guys are pushing back a little bit, 100 minutes on special teams. How did you decide how much time to allot each of these sections?
So for myself, I know that just the way we practice and just being organized and the tempo that we can command at practice, that, I know that our periods are generally 5-minute blocks, and every 5 minutes, we're switching to the next period. Now you may have, 3 5-minute blocks in a row of individual time, or you may have only 2 5-minute blocks of special teams. Now you got 25 minutes all practice, but you're going to do 10 minutes, let's say, of punt team. And I also thought of the team that's on the field. So for instance, when we do field goal, we don't need 10 minutes to do field goal, because we don't have to chase the ball. We can have, coaches getting balls back, and we've got a, bunch of balls right there ready to go. And we've got somebody fielding them. So we could get as we're doing, let's say, varsity field goal, we could have a JV return guy practice catching and bringing them back. And so in 5 minutes, we can get a load of reps with our field goal team. And then the other thing, just again, trying to work multiple things in one session, I found that we are able to work our last second field goal with the team actually on the field and not having to come off the sidelines for every rep. And just from the tempo of moving them around and having them get set as a coach is doing a countdown. So some of our special teams may need a little bit more time because you're covering a lot of ground and they have to get reset or come back and get another group set. And some we're able to accomplish in a shorter period of time. That's the first thing. The other thing that I kind of drew on is, I don't want to put all of our special teams all together throughout practice, because that's not realistic. I want our players to transition. So we may go 10 minutes of offense, and then right after that team offense period, transition right to our punt team. And so the kids have to be sharp to be able to go from, an offensive period to a special teams period.
I think that's tremendous. I picked up something like that at a clinic a long time ago, took it right back, and we started, Coach, every practice after we did our dynamic warm-up, every practice that year we would start a different way I mean, you never know how you're going to start a football game outside of, kickoff and kick return. You don't know if after the first play you're down doing goal line. It could happen, unfortunately.
Exactly.
Or, you could be going in with the ball on the 7, going in to score a touchdown after a long kick return. So the kids really dug that. And they said that year that really helped. We had very strong first quarters that year, and they thought that really helped, transition from not knowing what to expect. They'd come in at lunchtime. What are we starting with today, Coach? So there's a little bit of excitement there. And, my coaches and I obviously knew it was on our practice plan, but we wouldn't, stinkers are trying to look like during stretching, look at our practice plans, and it kind of became a fun little, game and all that. But
sure.
That thing, yeah, I love that idea of mixing that around, not keeping it, totally the same every single day.
And then that way it's fresh for the players too.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I noticed that you guys you have a conditioning period Monday, no conditioning Tuesday, and then conditioning Wednesday. Can you talk a little bit, and then nothing Thursday?
Right. So there's some conditioning drills that we have that are really, they're not pure conditioning where we're, running lines and, whether we're doing 5 back, 10 back, 15 back, or 40 yards or gassers. We're just not doing those. So on Monday, the conditioning period is the offense will run tempo. So they'll start at the 50-yard line, and it'll be on air. They'll go 50, then the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10, the score, and start again. And then as they're going down, the second group's going. And then if you have a third group, and our third group may not be a full third group, but a third group's going in, and with coaches spotting the ball, and they got to get on the ball and get it snapped within 7 seconds. And so that's a conditioning period, but it's realistic in terms of the way we want to run the offense during games. So they're getting a conditioning effect while they're running, plays. And at the same time, the defense is on the other end of the field doing some sort of pursuit drill. So that's on Monday. On Wednesday, we do a drill called bandit drill, and it's 11 on 11. And really for the offense, it's tempo drill. And for the defense, it turns into pursuit drill. We don't want them to knock down passes. They're just tagging the running back. Every play finishes with, we're moving the ball 10 yards at a pop, and we start on our own 2-yard line, and we move all the way down to the other end of the field, and then we will run the twos coming back. And so it's a little bit of a different conditioning drill, and it's really not everybody's getting in on that. It's the varsity guys that are going to be playing on Friday will get in on that, and that's been a helpful drill as well. That's conditioning. Now, at the same time, just the way we practice and the tempo of practice, they're definitely getting a conditioning effect.
Yeah, that's tremendous insight, Coach. Fridays. Last year I was at your Southern California State Championship. I don't even know what that game was called. That playing game. Regional.
The regional.
Yeah, the regional championship. And I was down there covering that game for Max Preps, and you gave me full access to everything. It was really awesome. I love seeing how other programs do things. And I really liked what you did pregame. I showed up, I don't remember what time it was, but you were out there with your headphones on, and a lot of the kids were out there just kind of doing their own thing with headphones and walking the field. And can you just give the listeners a little picture of what your Friday afternoon pregame looks like as we wrap things up here?
Yeah, sure. So they get out of school on Friday, and right away we meet. We have a team meal together, and then after the team, and it's really light. We're just hanging out, give kids a chance to talk. Keep their mind, whatever they want to be talking about, have a little bit of fun. It's not rowdy or anything, but it's really light conversation, just enjoying being with each other. And then from there, they go get their uniforms, put their uniforms away. And then, from there, we get them out on the field. And, it's kind of patterned after the NFL where the players before the game, a few hours before the game, are going out and just kind of checking out the turf and and doing their own personal warm-ups and things like that. So the players can come out, they can put their headsets on, and they're doing position-specific dynamic warm-ups and also spending time maybe if an area of their body needs a little more attention and a little more warming up and stretching. Some of the players bring out the rolling sticks. Some of them bring out foam rollers. Some of them are just doing stretching in groups. Some of them are doing partner-assisted stretches. And they're also doing their position warm-ups on their own. The quarterbacks will come out, get the arms loose. Receivers may catch some balls. DBs just getting the legs loose. And they get about 15, 20 minutes to do that. And then after that, we bring them over to the sidelines and we do special teams call-outs. Make sure they know what teams they're on and who the backups are. And we just go through, it's got to be perfect. So we will go through all the special teams right from beginning to end, and it's got to be perfect all the way through or we start again. And then after that, we get a break. We send them into the locker room and they start getting taped and getting ready for the game.
Yeah, a lot of coaches, I think that I've unfortunately not gone too deep in the playoffs the last few years here myself, and so I try to get out to as many games as I can when my season's over. And I try to go out and get on the field and go watch some guys I know or what have you. Coach, I think a lot of guys keep their teams a little tight. They want too much control of them. And one thing I learned that day, and I really appreciated about the way that you just let the kids kind of do their thing, and the kids respected that. It was all business. There was no one screwing around. There was just a certain level of expectation that I saw there that not all programs you would get that out of. That's one thing I really saw.
Yeah.
So how did you develop that with those kids? I mean, I'm sure that took a little while.
So it takes a little bit of while because you need a level of maturity from the players to learn what their style is of getting ready for a game. And when I say maturity, that really just comes from experience and coaches guiding them. So we have an area where guys can sit and talk a little bit because some guys, that's how they get ready for a game. They can't sit quietly. They can't sit and just think about the game because they'll get too uptight. They have to be able to talk. Some guys get ready that way. We've got guys that get ready by sitting down. Kane Sua, who's at Cal Poly now, he used to love reading a book, and it kind of drove me nuts. Walking by him and watching this kid who was a pretty good football player for us reading a book, an hour and a bit before a game. But that's how he got ready. That kept him calm. And then there's guys that they want to listen to their own music. So that's, I think, one of the greatest things about the headsets now, and being able to develop your own playlist is you can get pretty up for a game by just putting your own playlist together and putting your headset on, and you're not bothering anybody else and you're not offending anybody else. And we've got guys that listen to different types of music, and just myself as a coach, I want to listen to some Boz Scaggs and some Steely Dan and stuff like that. And I know that probably wouldn't do it for most of the kids on the team, but that kind of gets me into the groove and gets me ready. So I know that I'm not bothering anybody if I put my headset on for a bit. And I think you just get an opportunity for guys to get ready in their own way. Now, there's a cutoff point. There's, by the time it's an hour before the game, there's no music on, there's no more reading. We're all in the weight room locked down together and just waiting for your unit to be called to get out on the field. But I really think when a coach is relaxed for a game and when the kids see what your demeanor is, they're going to emulate that. If you're uptight and you're a tight guy and everything freaks you out, guess what? I pretty much think the same thing's going to happen to your kids. If you're relaxed and you can take, the calls that happen and the little setbacks that happen and work through them on Fridays, I think your team's going to wind up being the same way as well. And so that's been my approach.
Coach, this has been tremendous. I appreciate your time tonight. just sharing a whole lot of wisdom and insight on practice and pregame and how you're doing things. There's no doubt you've had a lot of success, and it's going to be fun to see. Had a coach ask me the other day, hey, your buddies with Steinberg, why'd he go from Division III to Division 10? And I told him, man, it's not about the divisions, for Jeff. It's about developing young man. It's about the competition, building something great. And I know you're going to do that out there. I look forward to seeing that.
Thanks. I really appreciate it, Chris. And thanks for all that you do.
All right. That's a wrap. That's a wrap on episode 9 here of the Coach's Locker podcast. Thank you for listening. You'll want to check out Coach Steinberg's manual, okay? Coach Steinberg's manual. You'll see how organized he is there as we just talked through that. You'll find it. It's called Raising the Bar, a complete 12-month roadmap to success. You go to 8laces.org, AIGHTLACES.org. Then you click on Shop. Then you click on Raising the Bar, okay? And, folks, it's not just forms and templates like my Outside the Lines manual, but it's the real nuts and bolts of how to run a year-round program. You're going to get 103 total pages, okay? And it comes instantly to you, downloadable right after payment. You're going to get 3 things. You're going to get his year-round calendar. You're going to get a PowerPoint he's put together for his staff. And you're going to get his actual manual that he's developed over 20 years with and for his coaches there, okay? So use the coupon code Steinberg. That's STEINBERG. Use the coupon code Steinberg, STEINBERG. Coupon code Steinberg. Save $5 off that. So it's going to cost you $9, folks. That's not too much money. It's a tremendous resource. You'll get downloaded right away after making that payment. Coupon code Steinberg, 8laces.org. Hey, remember to check out the Football Coaching Podcast Network. Visit footballcoachingpodcast.com to hear our entire lineup of top football coaches. We've got some really great coaches as a part of this network, here to help you become a better coach. Follow me on Twitter at Coach4, COACHFORE. You go to 8laces.org podcast for my email and all the ways to follow me online. You can also find our show notes and upcoming topics there. Again, 8laces.org/podcast. Peace.